Jack Verma has always been one of the most consistent players in Europe, in Germany as well. Multiple top cut finishes, probably over 10 at this point. Has been always so good at getting those good finishes in as well in those tournaments. And is again on an 11-2 record, possibly making his way into the top 8. But there is a card I have not seen a whole lot throughout this weekend, but there is the Mulcharmi Purulia, which is massively strong against the second part of Jack's deck, which of course is the Ryziel part.
Jack. And I mean, it is one of those cards that are considered as a key cards for side deck options, for example, and we see present preparation of the right, which is very important. But I'm really curious about Purulia in the current meta state, because a lot of players debating if it's a good card, if not such a good card for main deck or maybe side deck, and I really want to see their applications. But obviously, again, Purulia with Fugalos is very, very strong opening against a Mitsurugi Ryziel deck.
If this just shuts off every single part of the deck, if you don't want your opponent to draw any more cards, at this point, Jack has to ask himself the question, am I good to just pass, or is my opponent then going to OTK me immediately? Jack has not had the best track records when it came to featured matches in the last few events. I think the last 3 or 4 in a row he actually lost, despite being one of the best players we have here in Europe.
Interestingly enough, we do go for the Aramasa. Usual choice is, of course, the Saji to get yourself a ritual, but you do not maybe even want to activate ritual here, as summoning from the hand or from the deck in both cases will give Andrea a draw through that Mulcharmi, Fugalos and Purulia combination. And also there already is a Mitsurugi Ritual. Makes sense. Jack does play 3 copies of Mitsurugi Ritual, so he will draw into that very regularly. And he has it here to bring out Murakumo. What else is there to back that up though?
So it's like having a minimaxi challenge right here, meaning that Fugalos and Purulia has been activating and resolved. And I wonder what Jack will decide to do, how many draws will consider to give to Andrea, and if he's going to establish a full field or make a mini field and establish some prayers, for example, and pass to Andrea.
I think what you could try to do is give one more draw here. Oh, actually tributes the Futsu from the deck. This might actually give Jack the opportunity to search for a mirror that he wanted to get with pre-preparation of rights, tribute the Murakumo, and then get the Futsu back, and then also search for Murakumo. So that might be something really, really strong here to play around the Fugalos and Purulia combination.
This is insane. We are facing both of the most powerful Mulcharmis. We're facing Fugalos and Purulia, but we just, with this deck, have the opportunity, have the play style to play around it completely, just summoning back from the graveyard here with the Murakumo. That is so strong. And now even the main deck trap card, the main deck Mitsurugi Great Purification is giving him so much of an upside here. And also, let's already get into the theory here. When your opponent activates Purulia, Fugalos, but most importantly, Purge, you do have a pretty good understanding of what they could be on. I think we have only seen 2 decks really in the competition here this weekend which were running Dominus Purge. One of them is the Apophis deck, and Apophis, they just didn't run all of those Mulcharmi cards, so that one's out of the window immediately. But there's of course Yummy on the other hand, which in fact is the deck here on the other side.
I was gonna say, it smells really good on the side of Jack right now, because he is expecting a yummy deck from Andrea here, and now is actually activating prayers to activate both effects. Are we going to see more hand trips here? How many more can there be in one single main deck actually?
I mean, Yami is very well known to play a lot of hand traps, maybe 18 to 21, but I'm truly believing that the matchup Mitsurugi against Yami, it's quite difficult for Yami because Ameno Murakumo has such strong effect against the Yami field.
Didn't we in the beginning use the Futsu to search for the mirror? That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's how we initially even got the mirror going. So we are missing out on the Futsu now. So Jack, oh, look at him. Look in the face cam. You could tell that he did a little bit of a misstep here, and he now has to commit into another summon from the hand. Oh, he doesn't want to do it, but yep, that is the normal summon of Kusanagi, giving another draw due to the resolve of Charmy, Purulia, and the Infinite Impermanence now too on the Prayers. Do we leave Jack without access to Prayers here?
Yeah, the Prayers is really hard. Discarding another Ash Blossom in there as well, of course, for the Murakumo effect to actually resolve Impermanence. Leaving without Prayers is really tough. I think there's a decent chance you're going to try and get some more value out of this turn by going into a Gallant Granite, perhaps. So you are not leaving without anything, basically. Oh, we're linking off. This might be IP Masquerena. You have Purification, so you have at least some sort of interaction, but this maybe was a crucial misstep from
Oh
Jack.
my! It has been Ibiru, the Primal Being, and note that the Murakumo already came back from the graveyard, meaning it will not be able to summon itself back here. What a combination of cards here from Andrea!
Andrea can't stop himself from smiling there, staring at Jack, going, this is a lot that I'm having right now.
And I mean, we have talked about this a lot during these days, that Nibiru is quite awkward against Mitsurugi, but yet we can see that with certain hand wraps and a combination of hand wraps, it can have some applications in any matchup, and of course even to Mitsurugi.
Oh, it just hits the spot, let's be real, because for that very moment it rules out both. Oh, hold on, did we activate the Habakiri already too?
Yeah, we started. That's
Yeah.
what Fuvalos was changing.
True, absolutely. So not only did we get rid of the IP Masquerena and the big ritual monster, but also the trap card is not live anymore.
I think the Abakiri was just showing Andrea, this is the card that you know from my hand.
Oh, fair, yeah.
Situation, not an activation. But now Kapsi is being the normal summon, the best one of the deck. In fact, Surprise is being added to the hand now.
This is so rough for Jack because also, let's face it, in theory, you are happy to face Yami with any kind of Mitsurugi deck. The matchup generally, just talking pure statistics, is favored for the Mitsurugi variants. But when you have those cards in your opening hand, it's hard to go up against any kind of deck.
And to be fair, when you face Mitsurugi and you have only one unknown card, and it is in the hand, you have a very strong advantage, especially when you start with normal summon Kapsi, who can play very well against a potential Nibiru. So I think that Andrea right now, he can go all the way through and doesn't care about the interruption that may potentially be this blind card, meaning that even if it is Nibiru, which will be the most important one, he can still play around it pretty easily.
Kapsi normal summon plays around every single hand trap in the game, if it's only one. Of course, you need a combination to stop the Yami deck. That's why it is so incredibly powerful. But the upside for Jack Verma in this matchup is that while the first game is certainly not going his way, in the next two games, he still has the favorable matchup. Mitsurugi is a deck that is likely or likelier to beat the Yami deck. I want to say I'll give this matchup a 65 to 35% for Mitsurugi.
I would agree. Just, it is all about just like exchanging your monsters, bringing back monsters, and having those quick effects with your synchro monsters or the quick synchro with your link monster. But when just every single one of your monster gets destroyed by Murakumo, well, all of those switching around doesn't help you, and then Murakumo alone oftentimes being so detrimental to any kind of Yami deck. Wow.
There's just one big rums, as we say in Germany, and that will be getting rid of the entire Yami field. And that's a pickup from Jack, conceding game one here, saying, okay, well, you know what? I kind of lost this game in the first turn already. Let's not... I trust you that you can OTK me here.
That's the thing. Usually when the Mitsurugi decks get to go first and they have a way to combo, I think so often they are just winning from there on out. Like so often when they did not brick and they can play the game, they're just so good in setting up sometimes very creative fields. It doesn't always need to be like a full combo field, but even their half fields are so nice, always giving you the full destruction effect of Murakumo and so on. But here, being able to combo and then still not winning is really a shocker for Jack.
Yeah, meaning it was kind of an awkward situation because both Fugalos and Purulia were activated, so you had to think a lot about what to access, how to play, and I think that the crucial moment was the one that Fucho wanted to be summoned again from the graveyard and got Verma off the hand, meaning that he tried to do that, he knew how to play around both Fugalos and Purulia, but yet he didn't think about, because obviously there's a lot of nerve right now, especially when you face double Malcharmy, and this was the crucial moment.
The deck is incredible at playing around any Molchami. But if it's 2, it's all of a sudden getting a lot harder. With this Meowls, yes, you can play a little bit more from hand than if you have Meowls and Fuwalas, but Purulia and Fuwalas force you to play from the graveyard. But if you have to use your effects like this, he couldn't activate the pre-preparation of Raid or couldn't resolve it because it got purged. And with this combination of cards, with this card in hand, it would have been actually fine, I think, because he would have had access to the Futsu, didn't have to send it from the deck or tribute it from the deck. Would have been a totally different game.
Absolutely. This deck is so good when it just has access to a couple of ways to combo. As we saw, like, if it wasn't for him forgetting that, I think it might have still been enough, but just that Nibiru in the end. And the Nibiru, I think, might have even been the one card that he drew for the IP Masquerena summon. So if he would have just passed without going into IP Masquerena, maybe the game also looks different, because that means they have one less card in hand that you can play with, which is the Nibiru, because they draw that for turn. Also, our Purification is online, and the Murakumo can come back to destroy more cards. So there at least is a decent chance that it would be his game from there on out.
Yeah, but I mean, with so many draws, you have to take the risk. I think in any case, it was a good call to go to Epi to have one more interaction, especially with a Spirit Knight, potentially, which is a very good interaction against the Yami field when they try to establish their place going second. But I guess sometimes it's like this, and the luck is a very important
honestly,
factor.
I would like to see the statistics, because Nibiru the Primal Being does not seem like the most popular card at the moment. So probably most of the players, especially in Game 1, are not necessarily playing around it, because it is not just really relevant in the format right now. Really relevant are those 2 players right now, Andrea and Jack, just drawing their 5 cards for that second game. So let's jump back into the gameplay action.
Possible crucial reason why Nibiru makes its way back into the main decks of Yami players is that Obedience School was put limited in the last Forbidden Limited list, and therefore it's fine-ish for you to end your first opponent's turn on a monster. You know, Engage is still a little bit of an iffy card then to play, but if you have less Obedience School in your deck, most of the time you can play together with other hand trips as well.
Pre-preparation of rights again goes answered, this time by the Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, meaning no search for Jack. And sometimes that means the deck cannot work at all anymore, and it is one of those times. Jack has to pass play over. Andrea just really rolling over Jack here with that Yami deck. Normal summons Molchami Meowls now. Please note though, that's a legal monster to go into the Link 1 of Almirage, and that then enables all those Yami monsters to be special summoned from the hand.
That makes the Molchami cards so good in Yami, because even if you're starting with them, or if you couldn't activate them or drew into them too late, you can always go into Almirage, and potentially it gives you one more body to play with.
And just to mention about Nibiru, I really like the strategy to use an...
Wow, and even the call by the grave on the Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. Jack is like, I'm going to do to you what you did to me, having a strong Ash here, but not with Andrea. He has the answer immediately.
So I was saying that you can actually play Haggard Lizard, which is a very good option as a Link 2 in order to clear your field and go for a potential engage or Obedience School, which is a very good strategy.
Oh, discards the happiest Feather Duster as well. He really had it all there. Now Marshmallow in hand was searched, special summoned out, Yummy Snatchy, and you could really tell by the way Jack is looking into that camera that he is not really enjoying himself right now. Andrea is the one with the foot on the gas pedal, summons out Capsi Yummy, and we know with that field spell, we know with Yummy Movement Minion, we just amass so many attack points. The more Yummy monsters we have, the more attack points we also will have, and it will be an easy task for Andrea here to get to 8,000, as this is exactly 8,000, and we have it. 2-0 victory for Andrea, who can't even really believe it. It is his match though, and he's really, really close to possibly even making it into the top 8 here.
The deck doesn't need much. If there is an empty field, you can so easily go for a game. Just Mio alone gave 8,000 attack points there in this scenario.
Pretty much.
And to be fair, I was talking for 2 days how Mitsu, I believe they have a very good matchup against Yami, and yet we just experienced that Yami just literally win 2-0 in some minutes against the Mitsurugi.
I don't think the Yummy cards were the problem for Jack in that scenario, but of course I think we have a backup feature match again that we can access very soon, because most certainly this will be a very short analysis later on the section there. What are you going to analyze about Game 2, Basti?
Well, the normal summon of the Meows and the fact that the Meows is there in the first place, because I think Meows is one of those side deck cards which also is not particularly commonly seen here in this tournament. It feels like the other Molcharmies are certainly more relevant. And also, I mean, when we were talking about the Molcharmies, I think Andrea also one of the few players to have Molcharmy Perulia in the main deck. So he really still, even though the format has drastically changed, trusts those Molcharmy cards and their power. And he was proven very right here in this match, at least.
Perulia is way better versus Yami now, since we have Obedience School limited to 1, so they have to extend more from hand. So I think that that card is actually maybe in a fine scenario here. Also, if your opponent announces Ritual Summon from hand with the Mitsurugi Ritual.
And
Definitely.
I mean, for the moment right now, it is one of those things that maybe give the edge to the players that advancing to the top 8. So yes, we talk about that many players do not actually use Meows or Perulia in the main deck, and yet we see Andrea trying for the top 8 who utilizes both of them. So he may know something more, right?
And he's already really close to top 8, but there are more duelists that are getting closer and closer to the prestigious top placements. Let's go into the backup feature match, because we have a familiar deck with a familiar face.